My name is John and I'm at Paint School on Instagram. I've done over $15 million in paint jobs and I'm based out of Huntington Beach, California. Aaron is at Alpha Painting on Instagram. He's managed huge commercial projects with impossible timelines and now is a few years into building his own operation out of Branson, Missouri.
And you should probably check out our full process videos on YouTube because they're pretty badass.
Our point in doing this podcast is to put our 40 plus years of combined experience to the test. We've seen a decline in the industry, and while I think it's a bit arrogant to think we can change it, we're giving it a shot. Listen up and let us know what you think. This is Paint Sniffers Podcast.
All right, so we're back with another episode here. We are going to cover a few topics. One of them is going to be some product information. We'll probably mostly talk about Sherwin-Williams since we both use that, and probably a lot of people listening use that. We'll touch a little bit on some of the other companies just as we go through. We're going to touch a little bit on the Walmart.com we had been talking about previously. But first, a little catch up. So last week I was up in Big Bear working on like redoing one of the decks and then adding on another deck to the other side of the house. And, it's been fucking pretty hard, grindy work for me. Splinters all over the hands. And like, I don't realize how soft my hands have gotten over the last couple of years of not being on the job so much. But it sure does feel good to have a good hard day of work and fucking eat the big dinner and relax at the end of the day, fucking knock out at night. But it also shows me like, man, you got to figure out a way to slow down as you're getting older, like that's pretty rough on the body. You don't realize when you're doing day to day, but if you don't do it for a while and then get back in there, it's like, all right, your body has to get pretty used to all that punishment.
Yeah, I was punching the walls in the shower last night.
Yeah.
I tried to do boat shit yesterday. Got the boat all de-winterized and got it all ready to go. And then fucking think it's running good. And I go to, get it all hooked up. We're ready to go for the weekend. And then I go to trim up, and go to trim up, and it won't trim up. So I kept trimming down until the fucking outboard was in the fucking dirt. And then I had to have my son-in-law come fucking climb inside the engine compartment because I can't fit inside there, and disconnect the wires from the what is it called? It's like a hydraulic it's like a hydraulic system for the trim.
Uh-huh.
Well, one of the solenoids, probably two of the solenoids is out on it, so he had to cross the wires so I could trim it up and then just fucking drive it to the boat mechanic. And on the way there, I blew fucking tires on the trailer.
So you were able to bypass it to get it up then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So then I'm on the side of the road with blown tires, and then I got it off the road, and then fucking went and set at Walmart because no tire shops are open on Saturday, and got some new fucking tires and shit. I got to go put them on it, but yep, that's been my fucking weekend.
Someone had messaged in about maybe we shouldn't be talking about boats and shit like that because I don't know if it sounds like we're bragging or some shit, or
because our audience,
maybe people can't afford it or whatever.
Might not be able to do boat shit. Well, how about you don't do boat shit?
Yeah, that's a good solution to that problem.
Yeah.
I think over these last 2 years, I mean, if you look at like any of these groups, Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, all everybody's doing is talking about how high their charge rates are. These fucking guys are talking about charging $80, $100, $125 an hour for their billing rates. I don't even charge close to that much. We're like 60 to 65. But we do a lot of volume, and if you're charging $85 or $100 an hour and you don't have enough money to buy a boat, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Or like you're fucking doing 2 days of work a week, and you're taking the other 3 off. Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Well, think about this. I bought that boat off of a job that I was charging $1.75 a square foot. Think about that for a second.
So that's high production, right? You're being
Yeah.
really super efficient, hammering it out, and then fucking reaping the rewards of it.
Yeah, that was ass busting, 12 to 15-hour days and cranking out, when we're priming and running finish like 400 gallons a day for 3 guys.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the position I'm in right now is we're back into savings mode. I'd saved up quite a bit of money over the last few years, and specifically over the last 2 years. We made a lot of extra money in these last couple of years. And I don't buy that many things, extravagant things or whatever. I live a decent lifestyle. But fuck it, like we got this
yeah.
house up by the lake, and we're gonna put a boat in the water and keep it there. And it's not like, yeah, I mean,
I'm
have shit
by
to strive
no
for.
yeah, I'm by no means in your position. Like you're doing millions in order to make hundreds of thousands, right? I'm
Yeah.
doing hundreds of thousands in order to make tens of thousands. So I was at the end of last year about ready to buy a house, and then fucking the housing market fucking jacked, and now I'm sitting here with, my dick in my hand wondering what the fuck I'm going to do and hoping the economy fucking holds
Yeah.
to where, maybe the housing market will go down so I can get into a house. But yeah, like I'm in no awesome position, but I'm doing better than if I was making somebody else rich,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd be curious to see how long it takes the housing market to go down. I'm sure it will. I think it's already starting to, most places in the country, just because interest rates are going up, demand is slowing down. So the value is going to come down in order to get more people to buy. But I don't know what that looks like, if that's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But, we were discussing a little bit. We're both starting to get calls for people looking for jobs.
yeah.
You know?
I feel like we're going to be in recession within the next 6 months, personally. But
Mhm.
this is strange times. This isn't like the Obama years where it's like a slow burn into it. I feel like this is going to happen overnight, kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am like, I've had an ad in the paint store for like 3 years now that is pretty intimidating, and people don't want to call it.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to get phone calls of people looking for jobs. So that's very rare for us. So I mean, I think things are starting to trickle down, and shit's coming, dude.
Yep. Yeah. We've had quite a few phone calls over these last couple weeks of people looking for jobs, and it sounds like some decent people. And for me, I'll typically hire year round, whether I am in need or not. So even if I'm not in need of painters specifically at this moment, I'll still do interviews. I'll do a phone interview before I do in person. And if it's somebody that sounds really good, I'll find a spot for them. If it's somebody that sounds really average and I don't need anybody right now, I won't hire. But I keep everyone's name, numbers, pay rates they're looking for, experience, all in a spreadsheet, so that I can go back to it anytime. I've got like, I don't know, 200 painters on a list, and I can just refer back to that, and see. I've used it before to make phone calls. I'll go through and contact, I don't know, 30 people that I've highlighted. And it's never failed me that I've always been able to hire somebody pretty quickly out of that. So it's a nice list to have. But right now, like, I don't have any plans to hire anybody for the rest of the year. I'm pretty content to stay where I am and just try to keep my schedule full. But I'm still, if some superstar comes by, I'll probably find a spot for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of calls coming in for people looking for jobs right now.
Yep. which is not indicative of the last few years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. And it's interesting to see the change coming.
So we had some predictions out there, you know, in terms of we were primarily joking, but, you know, how we believed that, you know, non skilled jobs having their wages increased and eventually those workers were going to be replaced with like robot arms and shit. And
Yeah.
then John started talking about how um, he believed that Walmart.com or Walmart in general was going to start offering like subcontractors, like, you know, kind of like how Lowe's or Home Depot does.
Mhm.
I don't think that's typical of paint, but this is kind of this right here is kind of going to be a kick in the nuts. I personally think for painters, but yeah, here we go. Like John called it, Walmart is merging with Angie's List to provide painting services.
So we have an article for those just listening and not watching. We have an article pulled up. Looks like it's from TechCrunch. This is earlier this year, but it's in 2022. And basically, yeah, they're forming a partnership where Walmart is going to basically offer their customers services like through Angie or Angie's. It used to be Angie's List, now it's just Angie. Um, so basically, they're going to piggyback each other's like mailing lists, customer information, and Walmart will be offering like basically home services through Walmart, but kind of technically through Angie, uh, which is really interesting. Um, when we had talked about it, we had definitely joked about it, but there was a path, that we explained in previous episodes to where Walmart could pull something off like this. They have a obviously name recognition, and really to like if I wanted to cut through the country and take lion's share of the painting business from all the small contractors, I think I could do it with enough of a budget and enough of a team. And I think, having Walmart kind of money behind something like that, there's so much brand recognition with Walmart. And, and they're not known for being like high quality stuff, but it's brand recognition. And so for them to take a stab at home services, which is obviously billions of dollars a year in business.
It's fucking
Um,
insanity. Dude, you can't walk
yeah.
into a Walmart and ask somebody where something is and fucking them be able to give you an answer. And they're going to send those people to go die on a ladder at your house or fucking,
Well, it's
you know
not
what I
going to be
mean?
their
Like,
people. It's going to be you, right? It's
yeah,
going to be
no,
Alpha
it ain't going
Painting.
to fucking be
It's
me,
not going to
dude.
be you, but it's going to be whatever the other guy on Instagram, Alpha Pro Painting Plus.
Yeah. But the point, like, the point of this, in my opinion, like, we're already dealing with an accessibility problem with our trade,
Hmm.
which easy accessibility gets all these hacks into the industry and
Hmm.
it lowers expectations, it lowers the value. This is only going to make things worse. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's on.
expectations are so low already.
Yes.
Like expectations are so low. If you answer your phone when somebody calls, you're above average. If you show up on time, you're above average. If you did what you said you were going to do, you're way above average, right? Like if you fulfilled your contract, just straightforward, straight up, no questions, you're way above average. So expectations are super low already. Now, someone like Walmart can come in. They're not going to use their own employees to do this. They'll use their employees to manage the system, but they're going to be hiring subcontractors through Angie, the same way that Angie does now. Like they send out these leads to 5 companies, and those 5 companies get to go to war over who can have the lowest price and get this job. So that's what Walmart's going to do. They're not going to be doing any of the work themselves. They'll have licensed contractors. Lowe's does it through Porch, and then Home Depot does it directly through them. I don't think that painting on either one of those is big business, but flooring is. Getting your floors done through Home Depot is big business for them. Door ordering and installation is big business. Windows, same thing. So it's just a matter of time before painting takes hold with any of these companies. Um, but you don't see Home Depot marketing it very much. You don't see Lowe's markets it more than Home Depot does, and they're a little more aggressive on getting contractors on board through their porch program. Uh, but if any one of these like really takes a big stab at it and dives in, and Walmart starts doing commercials about services, might be a little bit in trouble.
Well,
Because if they take over a lion's share, then it's going to start taking away
yeah.
jobs from us for sure.
The problem, I mean, and with guys that have an attitude like, oh, dude, fuck them. It's not our competition, or we
Mm-hmm.
don't, we charge way more, blah blah blah. It's
Yeah.
going to decrease the overall value. Like, if you're fucking double what, Walmart's gonna charge or whatever, then
Mm-hmm.
cool, you're double, but it's going to devalue mind share,
Yeah.
and it probably, there's probably going to be all kinds of lawsuits, and the painters they hire are going to fuck everything up, and
Yeah.
it's going to take several years for people to realize, oh, fuck that, I'm not calling Walmart for a paint job, so it
Yeah.
will have an impact on us at the very least. Not probationary, but like temporarily it will impact us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if they wanted to pump out marketing dollars, like Walmart type marketing dollars, they're for sure going to steal a big chunk of business from regular painting companies, like without a doubt. They could
It's
do
just
that
gonna
overnight.
it's just gonna make our prices look that much more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's the fact that we're just getting phone calls to be used to justify a cheaper
Right.
price, that's still time we've had to waste. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't even know that their prices are going to be cheaper than ours, because they're going to be making money off of us, right? They're going to have a subcontractor and they're going to make money off of that. I don't know if they're going to go the route of only making money on the leads right now. If they use their database or their marketing and they generate leads like Angie does now. If Angie sells an exterior painting lead for $100, if Walmart brought that lead in, does Walmart collect $25 and Angie gets 75? If it's something like that, then it's still going to be contractor prices, but they're going to take away phone calls from us that are going to go straight to Walmart.com.
Like,
The prices might be
is
even.
this? Are they going to be using Walmart paints as well? You know what I mean? Like, that's
That's a good question. So that would be the better play long term, is to have Walmart branded painters, right? Like that would be their better move. But that's probably more of a headache. I think for now, it's probably only going to be selling the leads. Um, well, I don't know. So Amazon does services, right? Are you aware of that? So
no.
they do like they'll do installation. They'll sell services for like putting a chair together. If you buy a chair on Amazon.com or a desk or anything like that, they'll sell you an option. Would you like to have this desk built by a professional? And so the price is $99. They find a contractor to do that. They have people that are listed with Amazon.com, right? So we had a listing with them at some point, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. We had signed up to be one of their service professionals. We never went through with it, with completing everything and like actually getting any work from them. But we did do all the initial steps to sign up with them. But it's like a lot of background check information. It's a lot of information that they wanted. And so they sell the actual services directly now, right? It's like a click a button and buy installation for $99 or $199 or $149 or whatever. If Walmart decides to do that with painting, like paint a bedroom up to 12 by 12, walls for $300, or $299, ceilings $199, baseboards $19.99, closets $119.99. You know what I mean? Like all that shit. Then I think it'll be a bigger problem, because then they're basically going to be taking someone like my company. They're going to sell me that job. instead of, they're going to get it for $119.99 for a closet. They're going to pay me $59.99 to paint that closet. Right. I'm going to wear a Walmart Home Services t-shirt when I go do their jobs. Right. It's like a service call. I'm going to go in, do it. I'm going to take pictures of it, send it to Amazon.com through my little home services app. They're going to approve it and they're going to direct deposit money into my account. $59.99. And then I'm going to get a rating, from that homeowner, and Amazon's going to decide to keep me or to ditch me. If I get a bunch of 2-star reviews from customers, they're going to get rid of me. If I have 5-star reviews, they're going to pump me up and give me more jobs. So if Walmart decides to go that route, then I think we're in trouble. Then I think they can come in, take a really big market share just based off of their name, because they'll be able to manage the quality of it just through a rating system. Like that's relatively easy to do. We do it now, right? You do it, I do it, just on a small scale compared to what they would do. So we manage rating systems right now. You're managing to keep 5-star reviews. I'm managing to keep 5-star reviews. There's no reason they can't do it. I mean, they have way more systems in place, way more high-level managers in place than we do. It's totally doable for them.
Dude, I just got my first bad review. I'm so fucking pissed. Dude, I'm like beyond pissed. It was just for some dude reviewed my shit for not going to an estimate. Says failed to show up at appointed time to discuss painting project. And then 1-star review. It dropped me from a perfect 5-star rating over the last fucking 3 years, which I've busted my ass to fucking keep, perfect.
Yeah.
So this was my response. The unfortunate part about being the most reputable painting company in Southwest Missouri is we never get a break, especially the way the last 2 years have gone. It's also disappointing that after 28 years in the field, my first bad review is a job I was never even contractually obligated to do or even got to work on in any way.
It's a good response.
But I wanted, I sent you the fucking 2-page fucking response, dude.
The other
I
option.
changed it. I'm just going to try and contest it, but I think that's bullshit, dude. So like a job that you never even worked on, people can review your fucking business for a free portion of the services you fucking offer. Like, I don't want to bid every fucking job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking bullshit.
But you got to get out of the estimate then, right?
Yeah.
So that's a shitty part about the whole review system is that, and look, they're not wrong for being upset that you missed an appointment, but to give a 1-star review is pretty fucked up. Like that, the whole review system takes it away from being anything personal, like direct, like they should have called you and expressed to you their issue or whatever, not gone on publicly and fucking gave you the lowest rating possible, for something like that.
Yeah.
Have they ever missed an appointment? Have they ever forgot something? Have they ever overlooked something? Like it takes away the whole human side of things and just gives them the ability to hurt your company.
Yeah. Dude, times have been crazy, dude. Like I'm in the field all day and I'm bidding jobs in the afternoon and I'm fucking staying up late at night writing proposals. Like that's been my life for like the last 2 years. So, shit's going to get missed here and there in terms of estimates, We're behind schedule. We're crazy busy. You can't find fucking help, blah, blah, fucking blah. Like it is what it is, dude. If people, have been living in a completely different world than I have for the last 2 years, well, fucking good for them. But shit's going to slow down.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some big changes in the near future. We talked about that quite a bit on our last episode, so we won't go in too deep. But it is interesting to see the influx of calls for people looking for jobs right now. All right, so one of the things we're going to talk about is paint products. We got a message in a couple weeks ago asking someone, or for someone asking us to go in on primers on different surfaces and stuff like that. And I think we'll do a dive on that on another episode as well. But this one is going to be up about paint coatings, where we would use them, where we wouldn't use them, maybe some of the competition. So I mostly use Dunn Edwards paint. Sherwin-Williams is the second place that I go to, and then Vista paint here would be our third option. And it's not because of quality necessarily. Vista paint has some really good quality products, but there aren't as many stores. Um, our customers are usually choosing colors from Dunn Edwards or Sherwin-Williams here, where I am. Dunn Edwards is a Southwest United States company only. They're not in the Midwest. They're not on the East Coast. But it's popular here. They have as many stores or more locally as Sherwin-Williams. But over the last maybe 5 years or so, Sherwin-Williams has been buying everyone out. So we used to have Frazee here, 5, 8 years ago, and Sherwin-Williams bought all of them and turned them into Sherwin-Williams stores. So they've been slowly ramping up the amount of stores that they have here. So I use a decent amount of Sherwin-Williams, but not nearly as much as Dunn Edwards. But you mainly use Sherwin-Williams, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have experience with, Qual, Pittsburgh, PPG, Spectrum, which their in-house products suck, but they're like a third-party distributor. And they, that's where you got to get the Benjamin Moore and shit like that.
Yep.
Shit, let me think. ICI, Sherwin-Williams, Sterling. I've used Dunn Edwards when I used to live in Southern California. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a few here and there that I'm forgetting about, but yes, as of right now, the way that it's always been, I am most familiar with Sherwin-Williams products. So,
okay. So we'll start at the top with the Emerald line. So they've got, for interior, they have their regular, I guess, standard Emerald interior acrylic. They have their designer edition, which is relatively new. That's less than a year old, right? It's pretty new.
Well, I don't think it's less than a year, but yeah, we're within a couple years or so.
Okay, and then they're the Emerald urethane. Use the urethane a lot, right?
Yeah, I use emerald urethane primarily for trim. So what I've started to notice with emerald urethane is, in terms of it being, a modified acrylic, I think it is a modified urethane. So I don't believe that it yellows. Now, I've used, if I were to compare emerald urethane to, other hard products that I've used, like Southwest Builders Fast Dry Alkyd Enamel, or even pigmented shellacs, or fucking fine paints of Europe, or with the Eco, or dude, yeah, I mean, just anything in comparison. Like, I don't know, to me there's not a huge learning curve with any product, just because it's what I do for a living, is figure shit out, Yeah. I just like it bonds well to previously painted surfaces, lays down well. What I've noticed also, in terms of spraying, if you condition it when brushing, like over a previously painted surface, it lays down very good. Now, in terms of brush strokes over pre-primed, that substrate is still permeable, so you will be prone to brush strokes. But if the permeability is closed off, like something that was previously enameled and previously sprayed, you can get it to lay down slightly better than Pro Classic, in my opinion.
And so
which
I want to clarify on a couple of things you're saying here. So when you say condition it, are you talking about using an extender,
yeah,
thinning it
like
out a little?
Yeah, whether it's like that M1 shit or if you're talking Floetrol.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then on primer, when you're saying closed off surface or porous surface, so something with primer on is going to have larger pores, which will
it will
enable better adhesion, but it'll also suck out moisture, right?
No, what I'm talking about is like brushing. So,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you can spray over a pre-primed or over a surface that you are priming and get a premium result. But if you're brushing emerald urethane, um, like say in a repaint, or if you're attempting to brush it in new construction, or say
Mm-hmm.
like your baseboard is getting installed after you've already painted a trim package, spray a first coat on your base if it gets
Yeah.
installed after the fact. And then when you go to brush your final coat after your prep, like it will lay down like it's been sprayed. You
Yeah,
just don't
but
want to you don't want to brush a shit over primer and expect that it's going to lay down,
right.
because the permeability of the primer is going to absorb. Whereas if you're painting over something that's previously painted, it's going to set on top of the surface and have time to lay down.
Yeah.
So over pre-primed, it's going to dry fast and your brush strokes aren't going to have time to lay down
Yep.
because it's going
Okay.
to absorb. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry for interrupting. I don't know where you left off.
I don't either. But yeah, emerald urethane. So, the way we used to do repaints was, Pro Classic. It's a hard coating. I've come to find that I can use emerald urethane both as a trim enamel and as a brushable, enamel that will lay down well. It's got good
Mm-hmm.
adhesion, doesn't yellow to my knowledge. I'll have to be double checked on that, but
Well, here it says this water-based enamel resists yellowing compared to traditional
yeah.
oil-based coatings and creates a hard, durable finish that withstands wear and tear frequently cleaned and used areas. Which take it with a grain of salt if it's on their description of the product.
Yeah.
But I believe that this modified material is different than alkyd modified because of the urethane.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've even heard anyone talking about the emerald urethane yellowing. For sure, the alkyds do, and
Yeah.
they
Like
even
so
will have information in there stating, doesn't yellow as much as the old formula, that kind of shit.
yeah. Uh so with emerald urethane being a modified, it's a modified urethanized acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
Um you look at like Fine Paints of Europe Eco Satin, it is a modified alkyd.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, that product, the alkyds separate from the acrylic and your hydrocarbon residue rises to the surface, which leaves it gummy for too long. And
Yeah.
I personally think that product's broken. But I think emerald urethane lays down better than FPE Eco Satin. I've brushed and sprayed both, and for sure the emerald urethane lays down better
Yeah.
with a
Yeah, I think
brush.
it's a solid product all the way
It could
around.
be
Yeah, yeah,
argued which lays down better being sprayed.
yeah. The only issue I had with the emerald urethane was, I guess, a few years ago, we had done a cabinet set, and I don't really. I think this was the only time we had used emerald on cabinets, but a customer had requested it, and we did it in a satin finish, and it dried almost down to like an eggshell, almost like a velvet finish, almost like a step below eggshell. It was very
Yeah.
matte, and it felt porous to touch.
Yeah.
But I think they've reformulated that,
Yeah.
right?
So at most all trim packages in this area are semi-gloss, and that's kind of been the standard. And I think primarily because Southwest Builders Fast Dry Yellow Resistant Alkyd Enamel was like the go-to product for the majority of the production and custom homes in this area for
Mhm.
multiple reasons. It dries fast like a lacquer. You could build it. So, we used to white lacquer undercoat and then sand and then shoot fast dry. Some people would reduce it with mineral spirits. Some people would reduce it with lacquer thinner. The
Mhm.
thing is with mineral spirits, if you over reduce, you have to do multiple coats, and fast dry has a 12-hour critical recoat time. So
Mhm.
beyond 12 hours, it won't adhere to itself.
Yeah.
So I think it was critical to reduce with lacquer thinner and then build. So that product could be shot super, super heavy, and dry like, lay down like an alkyd, but dry fast like a lacquer. So what it would do, essentially over the years, what I figured out is over pre-primed, you don't actually have to lacquer undercoat. You can just sand, and you can build your fast dry so thick that it will start to absorb, and then it will stop at a certain point and dry. So I mean, you can get the same result without having to lacquer undercoat or with doing it if you do it right. But so for me, beyond fast dry, that was like the cat's ass in terms of whether it was custom or production. And, in production, once we broke at the fast dry, we could run everybody off the job because they didn't want to smell it.
Yeah.
It dried super hard. So I mean, like, that was like, that was the best product to use in my opinion for years. But over the years, like, you do repaints, and I mean, it's not a brushable product. It would be like trying to brush lacquer, pigmented lacquer. You can't fucking do it. So you go into an occupied repaint and you can't use it. So, the last 10 years or so, or 8 years or so, I've been in search of a new trim enamel. And I think I've come to the conclusion that emerald urethane is my trim enamel. Now, in terms of the satin, I know what you're talking about. Like the formulation for the original formula of the satin was kind of fucked up. It was like a low sheen eggshell, and I had only used it once, and then I was, and it just felt weird. Like, man, this seems like it's compromised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and
Felt
like,
dry.
yeah, like it would scuff easily and yada yada. But it's since been modified, and I think the satin is safe now. But
Yeah, you sent me some photos with real nice sheen, nice side sheen to it.
yeah,
And that is a difference, when something, how smooth it feels, how nice and hard it feels. Usually get a nice sheen out of it like that. All right, on to some other products. So Duration, Super Paint, Cashmere, Promore 200. These are probably like the most common wall paints, right? I mean,
yeah.
are you using much emerald on walls, on interior?
Emerald, or you're talking emerald urethane?
No, like the regular
Yeah.
emerald. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've not used the emerald interior acrylic. I've not used the emerald designer edition. I don't use duration on walls. I don't use super paint on walls. Originally, when super paint came out, shit, this was like what, almost 30 years ago. It was marketed as like a water-based trim enamel, the interior version, and then the exterior version was marketed as like the first ever low temp 35. So it was labeled as super paint low temp 35, and it being self-priming without talking about blocking tanning bleeds or anything. So to me, it's super paint, was one of the first water-based enamels. But I've nenever used it indoors, on walls. To me, walls are like an afterthought. They're going to get jacked up, they're going to get fingerprints on them. People are going to run into them. We leave a pretty fancy touch-up kits for our customers. I personally, in production, walls are an afterthought, as more so than in residential. But like, we're just throwing trash on the walls, you know what I mean, in production. And maybe bumping to a more premium product on trim. But in residential, whether it's a custom home or like not turnkey, but like semi-custom or something, I think cashmere for me is like just the standard. If somebody wants to bump to like designer edition, I would do it, but I just don't see the need. Like, if you're looking for durability and you're looking for, just some crazy fancy wall coating, why not just go with a pro industrial pre-catalyzed epoxy if you want durability? Like, it doesn't make sense to me to put $100 a gallon paint on a fucking wall, you know?
Yeah. Which I wanted to mention, by the way, the list price for the emerald urethane is $103.99 per
Yeah.
gallon.
It's probably more than that, more like 106 in my area, but that's
Yeah.
shelf price, you know?
Yeah. That's an interesting idea because Faro and Ball sell their paint for 125 bucks a gallon. Fine Paints of Europe is like 130, 135 for a 3/4 gallon.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of these companies' retail prices are in the $100 range. As is, they're just doing contractor discounts. Every now and then, they'll catch a homeowner and give them retail price, charge them $100 a gallon.
Yeah.
Just kind of messed up.
Well, I say
Okay.
they charge
Mhm.
every walk in that I see, they're getting shelf price, dude. You know?
Yeah. So at Dunn Edwards, they'll do a AAA discount. I think that might be it. Senior discount AAA. And I think it's 10% off, something like that. Okay, so you're mostly cashmere on interiors. I'm mostly super paint on interiors for walls. Super paint reacts really similarly to Suprema, which is what I buy at Dunn Edwards. It has a little bit of a rubbery feel to it. It has good coverage. The sheen uniformity is good. Touch up is good. Duration we'll use sometimes, but it doesn't feel like that much of a step up from Super Paint.
When
And then
Duration first came out, um, it they demoed some to us when Duration first came out, like Duration Interior, and we were trying to paint some bathrooms with it, and you couldn't brush it one way and then come back the other way without it changing colors.
yeah,
And so we tried everything like cut in, roll, wet on wet, and it was terrible. Like, so I never got that bad taste out of my mouth. I realized that
yeah,
it was an early formulation and they probably had to either reformulate it, or the potential for us having a bad batch was there, but I never
mhm,
got that bad taste out of my mouth for paying $50+ a gallon for some fucking paint that looks like a handyman put it on there, you know?
yep, yep, yeah. That's so I've used Promar 400 on ceilings like only a couple times. Man, I want to say I used it on walls like 10 years ago, and you couldn't touch it up. It looked like a different color. If you did touch up on it, it was like darker or lighter. So I've never turned back on that. Um, but I'll use Super Paint mainly on interiors, and then Promar 200. So like I'll usually do we do some commercial space, and Promar 200 seems to be like a good generic builder spec for those types of spaces. It's like has antimicrobial properties in it. The sheen uniformity is good enough. The ability to touch up is good enough. And obviously, it's lower priced.
Yeah.
Um, Emerald Designer Edition we've used on one or two projects.
What'd you
And
think
it's a
of it?
nice paint. It's nice. I mean, it's
Is it $106 a gallon? Nice.
no, it's not. It's not
Yeah.
double a price of anything else. Nice. Dunn Edwards has a product called Exquisite, and it's like a ceramic coating. It has ceramic in it. It's a nice paint. It dries super hard. You know, if you run your fingernails over it, it feels kind of like a Scuff X would feel, or even Command. We had talked about Command a little bit, where it's a really hard coating, almost like a shell. You know, like a shell coating to it. And they charge about double for that. I think my price is around $70 a gallon for it. And that's supposed to be their competitor to the Fine Paints of Europe, the Faro and Balls. You know, it's their ultra high end interior wall paint line. And so Emerald, the designer edition, feels like it doesn't dry as hard as that product. It's a little more soft, um, but it covers well. I mean, it's a nice paint. You can tell like it's a quality paint, but it doesn't feel like anything special. You know,
Yeah.
I think anybody who says it is special is like just it's a name. It's not it's a marketing thing. But yeah, super paint is probably my go-to on interior. Just it's a like basic general. We can rely on it. We've been using it for a long time. All right, so let's see if we get into cashmere pro classic harmony. You ever use harmony?
I don't think so. You touched on 200 though, and
Yeah.
200 back in the day, like I would say, you know, primarily like sheetrock in schools or student housing or heavy commercial. That was primarily a commercially spec'd product.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like in the past, I worked for a lot of guys that used 400, on residential for like spec homes or repaints or whatever. So
Yep.
the 200 and the 400 lines are decent products, man. There's not, in my opinion, a vast difference between 400, 200, cashmere, and super paint.
Hmm. I haven't used 400 anytime recently, but it's the same deal. I got a bad taste in my mouth a long time ago from it, and I don't know that I've even used any sheen levels in that besides flat. And I had a
Really?
lot of issues with flat, touching up with the cut-in lines different from roller lines or rolled sections versus cut-in. But the 200 and super paint, I would be mostly fine using that on any project. If somebody requested 200 or someone requested super paint, I don't think I would turn them down in most cases. I do feel like the 200 in like whites, light yellows, has pretty terrible coverage.
Yeah.
But a lot of paints have terrible coverage in those types of colors.
Yeah. Yeah, we did some red and cashmere the other day that didn't cover very well. But I,
Yeah.
I honestly think that 200, red and 200 would actually cover better than cashmere.
Do you ever do different bases? So like if we
Yeah.
have to do something in eggshell and red, we'll do flat first, a couple coats of flat, and then finish it off with eggshell.
Yeah, I'll usually do like it dependent upon the red, but like between a P3 and a P5 primer and
Hmm.
then build on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, even if you use some shitty, it doesn't matter as long as it's flat. If you use some shitty PVA primer, in a
Yeah.
P4 or P5, and then bump to there because your color retention is going to absorb into the primer, and
Hmm.
then you'll be able to build on top of that.
Yeah. Or you could use the universal primer, FPE fully tinted.
Yeah, yeah, we all
That
know
might
how.
be that might be one scenario where it would make sense is to do
Yeah,
red primer under a red wall. Um,
yeah. Which, if you're talking color retention, then that stuff, the system works great. I just don't like the fact that it never dries.
yeah, and I don't. I wish it dried harder.
Yeah,
So I have those door samples still kicking around my shop, and that's just how it is. They just don't dry hard.
yeah,
It's not a shell coating, which is weird to me. Uh, but there's still you could dig a fingernail in them. And this
yep.
is like what fucking 3 months, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it's just not. It doesn't dry hard. I guess it is what it is.
I'm
Very
several.
similar. Like super paint doesn't dry very hard. It's a rubbery coating when it's dry.
Yeah,
All right. What do you think about Pro Classic?
I think the guys that are out there spraying it on trim should stop. That product was designed for brushing in terms of repaints. So the same
Mm-hmm.
thing that I talked about, you know, permeability in terms of going over something with emerald urethane. Like if you're brushing it over primer, you're going to have brush strokes in it. But if you're brushing it over something that was previously sprayed and it's sealed, it's going to lay down well. The thing with Pro Classic, for a water-based enamel, it's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It does dry. It dries pretty hard. It
Yeah.
adheres well, and it lays down excellent. It's been around for a long time, and it's probably in terms of products, the first and the longest lasting water-based enamel that you can get to lay down like a traditional alkyd. But you have to be careful with it. You got to put it on quick. You got to lay it off, and that shit will tack and then run. So there's a pretty big learning curve to brushing it. And in terms of spraying, like, just don't fucking spray it, dude. Spray emerald urethane. There's no reason the guys out there spraying Pro Classic, oh, it lays down so good. Yeah, everything lays down good if you spray it, you know? Stop spraying that shit.
Why should they stop spraying it?
It's just because you have to build it in extremely thin coats. I mean, so there's nothing there. It's either it's going to run to the floor if you try and shoot it heavy. I don't want to shoot, multiple thin coats. I want to load something on there and be done with it.
Yeah. Okay, and then we had talked a little bit about this offline, but when it comes to choosing products, different product types for different substrates, a couple of the really popular products that have come up just recently through Benjamin Moore are ScuffX and Command. So Command I've seen being used everywhere. A lot of cabinetry being done in it. Kind of all surfaces. ScuffX, almost the same thing. People are using that on cabinets, trim packages, regular walls. Both of them are hard drying coatings. Command, I think, more so. What were your thoughts on that? Using a product
on the
like
Command. So I had I'm doing a pretty large exterior right now. Our process for exteriors, whether it's a conversion out of semi-transparent or solid body stain into paint, or whether it's paint that is extremely oxidized and it's just not been taken care of for 20 years, is to oil prime with a 100 alkyd fast dry primer. Then we'll do our prep, and then we'll and with that application, it's either sprayed and back brushed or sprayed and back rolled. And then we prep, and then we'll spray and back roll our first coats of duration, and then I will spray a final coat for color retention of duration. So it's a 3-step process. And
hey, what's the difference between fast dry and slow dry primers?
What do you mean? So like a traditional alkyd is just it's just a slow dry alkyd. There's medium dry. So when you hear fast dry, it's usually referred to like a medium dry oil. But what
would you call cover stain? Zinsser cover stain?
That would be considered fast dry oil. You know what I mean? So like a medium dry. So yeah. They're just formulated dry. It's not going to sit there like shooting a traditional alkyd enamel, and you got to wait 2 days before you put tape on it.
Are there slow drying oil primers? There aren't many, right? I mean, I don't know commercially like any popular ones.
No, dude. You remember shooting trim packages back in the day though with an alkyd, and like you couldn't even you mask all your fucking floors, and you shoot, you white lacquer undercoat
sticking everywhere.
That's fine. Yeah. And you're trying to walk, and like every step you take, you're ripping up paper, and it's a fucking nightmare. So yeah, that's to me, that's the difference. I don't know,
just newer technology.
Yeah. Chemically, I'm not sure. Maybe they're speeding it up because
sure. There's like a Japan dryer in there or something.
Not even Japan dry or something that you do in the field or whatever. I'm talking like from the lab. Maybe they're speeding it up with like acetone or
faster evaporating carrier. Okay, so you're putting oil primer on.
Yep, and then duration. So duration, like the difference. We're going to talk about Command. So the difference that's kind of my process, and then like with the duration, I think duration dries a little bit harder than super paint, but there's certain reasons and instances why you would prefer elasticity over something that dries hard, and I think Command versus duration is a very good example. So, with having said that about the process, we're doing this house, and down the street. There's this contractor that I know. I'm not going to name him or whatever, but He pulled up to my job site the other day and he walked me down to a house he had previously painted. And I personally don't think this is any fault of his own. Um, it's not like his fault that this is happening, but Command markets, hey, this product can pretty much go on everything. So we
Mhm.
go over there. It's got shake shingle siding, which it is a synthetic, like a composite vinyl. So you can take your thumbnail and you can like dig your thumbnail into this, right? So his rep okayed him to put Command on that shit, and it's coming off in sheets. If you look at like his handrails, like he had new handrails that he primed and he painted with Command, and they are coming off and delaminating in sheets.
Mhm.
And he's had reps out there and he's getting his answers, or he's trying to get them to warranty it and stuff. But you can see where like hell has hit it, and then moisture's been able to get through there and then start to delaminate from there. But there's no reason for like the front side to be delaminating. For one, I told him like, dude, like, well, the first thing, we talked about this before, is like, I don't fucking paint vinyl.
Yeah.
Period. You're just asking for problems, right? But if I was going to, I would never put something this hard on there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
you should have put duration or super paint or
What kind of primer
anything.
would you use if you're going over vinyl?
I would just go straight duration and then no
Yeah.
warranty.
Yeah. I don't do warranties on vinyl. We had a client last week. We were supposed to do a bunch of windows, the actual window frames. They had some aluminum, some vinyl. And, I have had this talk with my salesperson a million times. But we don't do any warranties on vinyl windows, and we explain why. And the reason is like there's been a lot of cases of those windows warping and
Yeah.
then not opening and closing properly, and the manufacturer will not cover that. That's
Yeah.
like
I would
100% you void your warranty. So if you want to do
yeah.
it, no problem, just sign here, that you're aware this is a
I wouldn't
problem.
even
And
do that, man, because those people, when you do shit like that and you explain to somebody, this will fail, this will fail, this will fail, then you're going to be the first person they call when it fails.
yeah, but
And
I literally will have a conversation very direct. Like, I need you guys to know that the manufacturer will not cover this warranty. The reason people aren't supposed to paint vinyl is because there's warping issues. So your window
yeah,
will warp, it won't open and close properly, and I won't take any liability for it. If you want
I,
to do it, that's fine with me. We'll put the paint on. We usually do like a XIM primer. Um, and we'll paint it. We'll do it to make it as durable as we can, but I have no guarantees. As soon as
I
we
wouldn't
put paint
even
on
do
that,
that
no
though. Like
liability.
I can throw a golf ball through vinyl siding. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
there's you just don't want to do it
yeah,
just solely because I don't want that bad name out there. For
yeah,
I
yeah.
would rather just turn it down and refuse to do it and let somebody else deal with the
Right, and
fact
that's
that
the smart move. Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, with this command, like, so he had it on a synthetic uh, cedar shake.
Hmm.
Vinyl is the only thing that I can give an example in terms of the chemical makeup that this stuff looked like, coming off in complete sheets, and his handrails are coming off in complete sheets. But like, you can walk up to this product and you can put your thumbnail on it and try and scratch it around. It's a extremely hard product, and in some instances that's not a good thing in terms of exterior wood that's going to be shrinking
Yeah.
and expanding over the seasons and stuff. Like, so I mean, I told and he had used a water-based stain blocking primer, but I told him, dude, I would have oil primed and then done my prep and then went duration, because it's just going to last a very long time and it has elasticity. Like, you can't, just because this stuff is expensive and it dries really hard, there's some instances where that will bite you in the ass. And,
Yeah.
I mean, now he's got a whole house that's delaminating.
Yeah. So their little marketing sheet here. Basically, it will go over galvanized steel, aluminum, concrete, masonry, vinyl, laminates, drywall, plaster, ceramic tile, PVC coatings, and millwork. So one paint that does everything. put it
Yeah.
on garage floors, return to service in just 24 hours for forklift traffic. Um, Now, one thing here talks about it being a flexible coating,
No.
which I don't think that's true.
No. Fuck no. If it
Um,
was a flexible coating, you wouldn't want to put it on a concrete floor. You
right.
know what I mean?
That's yeah. Same with so it's tack free drying. Let's see, what does it go to there? 15 minutes dry to touch. It's pretty quick. Um, yeah, but it's talking about you can stack it. Oh, I just saw that. Yeah, so you can stack them or return to service within an hour, typically. Um, to get that hard to be tack free, that's going to have to dry really hard because if it's soft, um, I mean, we
Yeah.
all know these products where it dries and it's dry to touch, but it's not hard, you know. And if you stack that shit, it's going to stick.
That's, I mean,
Um,
I haven't used it, but, looking at it in a residential environment, like, that seems like, no, you don't want to put that on siding. You don't want to put it on wood handrails. You don't want to put it on shit like that. It sounds like maybe it is a water-based solution to put, versus an alkyd, like steel doors in a,
right.
in a
Yeah.
commercial environment, or you know what I mean? Like,
So it says apply self-priming command directly to existing alkyd or epoxy coatings, most metals and plastics, laminates, masonry, concrete, and more.
yeah.
Um, anything that has this kind of a pitch, I usually don't believe. one paint that can do everything, including prime for itself. I don't know that we've ever had a product on the market like that, and I don't know that we ever will. But this seems to be marketing that.
Yeah, because just there are certain products that you want to dry hard, and there's
Mhm.
certain products that you want to be able to flex.
So on interior, what would be an example of where you'd want it to dry hard?
Um, so cabinets would be an example of something you want to dry hard. Your
Mm-hmm.
trim package is an example that you want to dry hard, but on moving parts like your frames and shit, that doors are going to
Mm-hmm.
be opening and closing. Like if I were to say, like, okay, I'm going to put Centurion on my cabinets, and then I'm going to put emerald urethane on my trim package, and then I'm going to put, cashmere on my walls,
Mm-hmm.
and, or, Promar ceiling paint or whatever on the ceilings. Like, I could, just because I'm in it, I could put emerald urethane on my cabinets, or I could put Centurion on my trim, but there's going to be different issues that pop up because of that,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that first set of where everything goes. You know, putting the 2K poly on the cabinets because it dries hard as a rock, really easy to clean. If you did put that on your trim work, it's
It's
not
going
the
to,
end of the world, but it's going to crack at your joints, right?
yeah.
Because you have movement. That's you've got headers that are running through there,
You want
and
something
that's where it's going to
hard,
move.
but you want a little bit of elasticity. And I
Right.
think emerald urethane is that variant for trim package. But
Yeah.
I don't think that it's so good that you want to put it on cabinets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Agreed. It doesn't have like yeah, the 2K almost has a lacquer feel to it where it's very non-porous, super smooth, really hard to your fingernails. Um, the Emerald is close to that, but it's not as hard. It's not
Yeah.
as smooth. So yeah, I wouldn't. It would be on the low side for cabinetry, but the 2K poly would be on the low side for doors and trim.
Yeah.
And then your walls, same deal, right? You want something with a little bit of flex, but still cleanable, touch up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to me, dude, like I said, with walls, I don't think, if I'm going to go overkill, I'm going to go pre-cat epoxy, because at least there's some type of benefit. You have
Right.
mar and scuff resistancy, impact resistancy, you have chemical resistancy. So, like, for example, like if I go with pre-cat, like right now we're doing a house, Everything is Promar ceiling paint on the ceilings. The walls are cashmere, but the bathrooms are pre-cat epoxy because they are prone to mold growth on the ceilings, especially in the basements. And I want these people to be able to, bust out with some bleach and wipe everything down when the ceilings mold, or when there's, a mold up high on the walls from, 2 years worth of showering or whatever, and it not damage the product. So
Yeah. Yeah, and those are some factors to take into consideration. Is like, what are the client's needs for a specific space? We don't have basements here, so we don't have to deal with any of that mold issues in those areas. But moisture in bathrooms, on the older homes here, they don't have as good of ventilation, and so that becomes an issue. With being able to clean the walls really well. How about eminence?
eminence.
I've used that quite a bit on ceilings. I like that for ceilings.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we used to use Southwest Builders flat, and then we moved to Promar ceiling paint, and then we moved to Eminence, but now we're back to Promar ceiling paint. So sometimes it's like, flats like that are dependent upon the store manager, whichever product he's trying to push,
What they stock,
and they'll act like, oh, well, we're trying to get rid of this product. And then you find out that other stores are fucking carrying it and it was just them. So,
Yep.
I think
Eminence went away over the last couple of years with availability.
It was all right. To me, it's not much different than Promar, or it's not much different than Southwest Builders. It's not much different than Promar ceiling paint.
Yeah. Okay. You have any other products that you like on Sherwin-Williams? We're just kind of going through their website on interior products right now. We'll do another one with exterior products. But we're gonna keep this one short and sweet.
Yeah, like I said, my standard A100 exterior oil primer underneath duration satin, duration flat, or duration low luster. Emerald urethane for trim. I think that we might start using on nicer stuff the Centurion 1107 for priming our shitty pre-prime trim packages, and then emerald urethane over the top of that. I'm having good reactivity. Everything's adhering good. I was able to leave tape on all my trim for 2 weeks and it not do damage. So,
nice.
and that's with taping it the very next day, so, and then cashmere on our walls, Promar ceiling paint on our ceilings. I'm still into, believing in traditional alkyds on like steel handrails and shit like that. Still a believer in oil-based stains outside. With the exception, we've been testing Structures Wood Care, their 100% acrylic coating, which has been pretty impressive.
Some of these products that are coming out, the water-based stuff for exterior stain work, if you find stuff in like the $100 a gallon range, they are doing something different. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know the science behind it, but there are some products that are coming along that seem to be figuring it out.
I think the Nature One, dude, me personally, you do 2 coats of that shit and you have excellent sheen retention. And it seems like it dries harder than the oil. It's weird.
Yeah. Some of them build really well. We don't have access to a lot of oil-based stuff here. We have some still, we can get like TWP for exterior. But it's only like, I don't know, 2 stores in the whole county sell it. So we're having to mess around with more water-based stuff.
Yeah. Stop using Super Deck, and the acrylics. Everyone should stop using that. Don't fucking put Super Deck on your decks other than what is it? The 107 VOC? But they have for their solid body, they have a modified coating that I've been testing that seems pretty good. But I do not like the Super Decks, dude. That shit will fail. Stop putting woodscapes on siding over primer.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll dive in on the whole exterior line on another episode as well. And then we'll go a little deeper on exterior products we like and don't like, where we use them, how we use them. Okay. We're all good then?
Yep.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Later.
As always, please like our YouTube page. Give us 5-star only reviews on all podcast platforms. If you have questions or comments, send them over to hello@paintsniffers.com or on Instagram @paint_sniffers.
You can also watch the video version of the podcast on the Alpha Painting YouTube page. Go to playlists and it will be filed under Paint Sniffer Podcast. Via YouTube, you can write into QA@paintsniffer.com.
Thank you for listening to Paint Sniffer Podcast.